Welcome to the Elevate Podcast, your resource for all things business, brand, and leadership. We are excited you have decided to join us today.
Hey everybody, it's Tony Frasconi here on the Elevate Podcast.
Robert Kalin here. Excited to have you guys here with us.
Mike Newman with you again, and always good to be with you guys. Learn lots every single week. So what are we talking about this week?
You guys, why? Why?
You sound like my grandson.
Why?
Why, Daddy? Yeah. Why, Pop?
You know, actually, that's interesting. You think about kids. Kids always ask why. Why? 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 They want to understand the vision that you have.
Yeah, they want to understand what you see in the world and why it exists and how they interact with it. I think the same thing's true with our businesses. If we really think about, why does our business exist? Why does where you work exist? And what's the purpose? And I think that oftentimes that's probably where we should be starting. Why?
Absolutely. Yeah. Starting with why. Why does the Elevate Podcast exist? Why are we doing what we do here?
All things business, brand, leadership. Like, subscribe, share.
That's awesome. We got to get that on video, and we just need to put that as a loop on our Instagram reel. Post it once a week or once a day. But going back, like, why is the Elevate Podcast here? Why do we do what we do? Ultimately, it's a group of people who are passionate about impacting the world around them in business, brand, and leadership so that people that are listening can take their business, brand, and leadership to the next level, right? Empowering people, sharing what we've gone through, what we know, bringing on experts, bringing on guests, and really just giving back. And Mike, before we started this episode, we were having a conversation, and you had said, I'm trying to remember what you said now. Quick. Never knew somebody who could forget so much so fast without a severe blow to the head.
I did not say that. I had said that one of the books that we had in the stack over here was Simon Sinek's work, Start With Why. And if you haven't seen his TED Talk, it's the most watched TED Talk ever, and so you probably have seen it. But go back and look at it again in the context of starting with why and what does that mean to you in your world, whether you're a business owner starting a business, whether you're a dad or a papa or whatever. Why do you do what you do? And what difference do you want to make in the world? And so
it sounds so simple when we think, well, because X, Y, and Z, right? And oftentimes it's not the first why that we explain why we're doing something. It's maybe 7, 12 layers deeper.
Yeah.
Because then why? Because why? And as you go deeper and deeper, it gets down to that core truth or that core belief, desire that you have to share with the world. And I think Simon Sinek, he just did it so wonderful on that TED Talk because he brought a mathematical approach to it. He brought a very technical way to speak to us about it, and then he brought in the emotional aspect to draw people in and really grasp between the Wright brothers story and the Martin Luther King stories, and those are something we can all identify with and see.
Mm-hmm. And so with that is about why being the center of everything that you do. And when he was talking about the differences of whether it's Martin Luther King or the Wright brothers, or the difference between Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and the way they built computers back in the day, was that Gates was wanting to build technology, and Jobs was wanting to build an experience. Yep. And both of them very good at what they did, but it's different in how we approach the use of technology based upon Steve Jobs' experience factor. And so why do you do what you do? And as Tony was saying, I was in a coaching session this week. I was being coached this time, and a guy went through this exercise of 7 levels deep, which is what you're talking about.
Oh, wow.
The why of what you do. And so it's, why are you interested in doing this? And then why is that so important to you? And then Why do you think that is? And every time was another level deeper that got to, it's actually probably the 5th, 6th level down. You start realizing that there's something inside of you that's different than what you thought. It becomes from your heart.
Yep.
And back to your.
Well, when my
part of
kids
leadership.
ask me that many times why, I think what happens is I get down to the core of because I told you so.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no,
That's the moment when your hair starts to fall out.
Right. Just, gosh, I can just hear it. But I think in addition to our why we're doing what we're doing, whether it's business, brand, and leadership that you're here on and listening to this podcast, the other thing that I will say, and if we bring it back to children tend to get what they want because they constantly pursue and ask why and why they can't. And eventually the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And so I think for you, if you're listening out there, if you don't exactly know what your why is, do that exercise. Keep drilling it down. Keep asking yourself why. Yeah. Or if you don't think you can get something, why not? And keep drilling that down because maybe there's a core belief that you have that might just be untrue, or maybe it's because of the way the things that surrounded you when you grew up, and you have the way that you were influenced to see the world in a certain way, and there might be some blinders that you have on, and so to ask why is so important, not only at a core level but on just outwardly and getting feedback from people around you.
3 letters, such a powerful, profound impact they can have on your life and the lives of those that you influence. If you think about that, why? Why informs everything that you do, whether you can articulate it or not. It's what's causing you to, you have a business right now, and it's what caused you to start your business. You had a reason behind it. Why did you start that business? Maybe you saw a need and you wanted to fill a need. Maybe you did it for the money. Maybe you did it for, your family. I don't know what your reason is, but you had a why for it. And the more authentic your why is, the more it'll carry you through the hard times, right? If your why is not strong enough when challenge or adversity comes, you're going to quit.
Yeah, and it will come. It's not if, it's when.
It's when,
Yeah.
right.
Murphy's Law.
I think the why also helps you as a leader, whether you're a business owner or inside an organization, or you work at some level in some company somewhere. There is a mission and a vision that every company has. Some of them are really clear and they're quick, simple statements, and others are a paragraph long that nobody can remember. And if that's you, invite me in and I'll help you shorten that up to one sentence, because that's what it should be. It should be something that you can remember. Yeah. And but when you get to why you're engaged with what you do and you start drilling down into it. So I'm going to do this. Robert doesn't know I'm going to do this, but I'm going to ask him 7 levels deep right now.
Oh, good.
Okay. So why did you start the Elevate podcast?
I want to empower business owners to take things to the next level.
So why is it important to impact business owners?
Ultimately, I've realized the power of mentorship, the power of someone else pouring into you, that it's easier to just listen to someone else rather than go through all the hard struggles and try and figure it out on your own.
So why do you think it's important to get other people's input?
I've found the end of myself too many times, where I couldn't do it. I didn't have the answer. And those outside perspectives that allow you to see the world differently, like Tony was talking about, is huge.
So when you think about the outside perspectives you need, why did you reach out to people that you did?
I guess I found the end of myself. I don't know how to answer that one different.
So, but maybe it's a who. Who did you reach out to, and why did you reach out to them?
Trusted people that I know, who, maybe had more experience in the area, thought different than I did.
Okay. And so you heard from them, you got their perspectives, and Why did you follow their advice?
I think when you follow someone else's advice, not only, trusted advice, but I think it made sense at the time. There's so many things of like, why do a podcast at all? It takes a lot of work to put on a podcast and to do it consistently. But ultimately the advice of like, what if you don't? If you don't do it, if I don't take that advice, if I don't step out in faith and do the thing, then the opportunity to impact people is gone.
So why is stepping out in faith so important?
In my experience, most people talk a lot and they don't actually do it. And so it's really important to put action to those things.
Okay, and so today marks episode number 22.
22 weeks of consistency, 22 weeks of love and labor, 22 weeks. It's awesome.
Yeah. And so why do you do this?
I do this because I love people.
Now, you notice that Robert didn't start his why with he loved people. He started his why is that he wanted to impact business, brand, and leadership. And he ended up with what the real purpose was, is that he wanted to impact people. So when you walk yourself through those 7 levels, I was having to count them on my fingers, but
I didn't notice you're under the table.
when he walked through those 7 levels, you probably heard the reasons change. And so as I was not having this pre-planned or anything, I was just picking up on his answers to my questions and asking why a little bit deeper to make him think more about what it is. So you don't have to be an expert. You just have to ask yourself the question of, once you answer it, why did I want to seek out other people, you know, and get to it. So your whole purpose, your whole why of what you do, whether it's the Elevate podcast, whether it's running Elements, whether it's the Elevate conference or the coaching that you do, is you want to impact people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Impact and influence.
Yeah, good.
That's good stuff, Robert. And that was great, Mike. Just a way to, I think what I noticed is as you asked him the question again, you built in a little bit of that last thing that he had shared. It was, so if it was like impacting people, so why do you think impacting people is important? And then the next answer he gave, you tied a little bit of that answer into the why. And I think that helps. It helps continue to chip away at those layers because you're hearing kind of what you said back to you.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, well, that's because, and then there's another thing.
That's good. Grab a friend, have them ask you why 7 times. That's good. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, it actually felt, I wasn't doing it, but it actually felt a little bit uncomfortable, even for me, just listening to you guys go through the process of that.
Well, my brain doesn't tend to work that fast, as you know. I don't know that our listeners know this, but I have had a number of concussions in my day. That put me on the spot there.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Robert, for indulging me with that. Yeah. Yeah. So Tony, as you look at, you're part of a big organization, and you know the why of what the organization does, and besides being paid on a weekly, monthly basis,
Sure.
why do you do what you do?
I do what I do because I love the blue collar worker. I love the idea of labor and the service industry, the people that build our streets and pave our roads and build bridges and make this life that we have better. Oftentimes, it's that work that nobody wants to do, and I love representing those employees through the union that I work for.
Yeah, good. So leadership isn't just being the person whose name's at the top with a title with it. And leadership is whether you're a business owner, whether you're part of an organization that's making a difference in people's lives. It's about taking what we have and how we can contribute and make a difference for people, which is exactly what Robert said. That's, if we were to take you through the 7 steps, I imagine that somewhere along the lines you would have got to, I want to make a difference for people.
Yeah, I think so. I think giving back, planting seeds, people, invested in me. Mentors. It was my mentors. It was my coaches. It was my teachers. Along with different family members at different points in my life that believed in me and that saw a greater version of myself than I could see. And it's what propelled me forward. And I want to help people know that there's so much inside of them that they can't see, and even the things that they can see and can envision, that there's probably still so much more in the tank that they haven't even tapped into.
So true. You have everything you need inside of you right now, whether it's a seed, whether it's a growing plant, that's going to come out and become something that bears fruit. But you have everything you need inside of you right now. Start asking why.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
There's a chasm from where you want to be, from where you are to where you want to be. There's a chasm. You can even ask, why am I not there yet? Mm-hmm. That could be a learning question.
And we believe the line goes like this.
You mean it's always uphill?
It's uphill, but really it goes like this.
Yeah.
It's all over the place, and so as Tony said, it's not if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen, when you have a setback, and how do you respond to that setback versus how do you react to that setback.
Yeah.
And knowing your why is really going to make a big difference in how you respond.
Yeah, it's good.
One of my favorite motivational speakers is Les Brown. If you had never listened to Les Brown, I encourage you to just YouTube Les Brown and listen to it talk, and you'll be moved. He is so gifted, but one of the things he always says, one of his key phrases is something like this: a setback is a setup for a comeback. Mm-hmm. And when we can ask ourselves why we're doing what we're doing, hopefully it's continuing to set us up for that next comeback that we need, or that we ultimately will need to have.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's good.
Good stuff.
That's great. Well, you guys, that is all the time we have today for the Elevate Podcast, episode number 22. We are so glad that you have chosen to follow us. We encourage you guys to share this content with your friends. If something has reached you and touched you and changed you, pass it along, because the chances are that they need it too. There's somebody out there that needs this message that hasn't got it yet. And so we encourage you to just pass it along and let's change lives together.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Great to be here, guys.
All right. Take care.
See you, everybody.
Thanks for joining us today on the Elevate Podcast, your resource for all things business, brand, and leadership. For a deeper dive into the content and to get access to resources like our free show notes, go to countercultureleaders.com/podcast and sign up for our newsletter. Hey, don't forget to like, rate, and review, and subscribe, and share this content with your friends and colleagues. This is Mike Newman. Looking forward to seeing you next week.